Yep, I'm not yet done with David. No. So, as I said, David is a complicated person. You love him, you hate him, you wonder, what in the world are you doing? He's sometimes a good dad, sometimes not a very good dad. Okay. So, his favorite is Absalom because he's very handsome. The second to that is Adonijah. Now, for some reason, he promised Solomon to be his heir. He even promised Bathsheba that too. Now, Adonijah just put it in his head that I'm going to be king. And, well, by that time, David was very old, and I suppose the way of old people, he gets cold all the time. So, I suppose the castles here were a bit more primitive. They're not as, I don't know, they have not as much padding because I don't know if by this time the castle is um, of wood or the castle is of stone or maybe a combination. It's cold. So they got Abishag, the Shunammite. She is a very beautiful girl. They made her David's concubine, but they never had sex. It's even clearly stated there that they never had relations at all. They just turned her into one of the concubines. Because here's the thing, here's the weird thing about David's concubines. They had roles in the palace. They're not, just random girls that he shags around with. No. Um, when David fled Absalom, he left the concubines in charge of the palace, and the a-hole Absalom had sex with them on top of the palace for all the world to see. Yeah, I know, right? David, you have a failure of parenting here. But one thing he did not have a failure of parenting with is when Solomon was was told to him by God that the next king would be Solomon and not Adonijah, because by this time Absalom's already dead. Um, okay, so there were other princes, sons of David, but they're not really in the running. Maybe they didn't show any promise. And by this time, of course, Solomon was showing promise. And so the Lord told David that Solomon is next because he is going to be a man of peace, as David was a man of war. So David starts to call on all the Levites and all the houses of the Levites. From the house of Merari, from the house of Gershom, from the house of Eleazar. So he calls on the Levites and their houses, because remember they still have their genealogies. They know the house of the house of. All right, so he gives them assignments. So the house of this, you're going to take care of the east gate, you the king's gate, you the treasury. He even practiced the choir. He even already commissioned everything that Solomon would need for the temple, because they knew it was going to be a big endeavor. Remember, if God told you, all right, you can build me a house, you had to give the best and the brightest and the grandest house for God. If your God would say, you can build me a house, what type of house are you going to build? I'm going to beggar myself just to make him that house, right? So perhaps that's what David felt. Also, that's what Solomon felt. So they started to do preparations. What's this? David already commissioned Hiram, king of Tyre, for the cut cedars of Lebanon. He even asked Hiram, king of Tyre, to lend him a craftsman to oversee all this. And Hiram, king of Tyre, said, "Oh, I have this guy. Uh, his mother is from the tribe of Dan, and his father is from Tyre. This guy, he knows how to deal with stones. He knows how to cast bronze. He knows how to make the gold leaves, and he knows how to do metal crafting and wood crafting. Everything that you need, he'll oversee it. He's a great guy. So he has some Danite blood. So Dan is one of the tribes of Israel. So, okay, so they already start to cut things, to fashion things, to carve things long before Solomon takes the throne. All right, so Adonijah, he rebels and he just crowns himself king, and Joab and Abiathar sides with him and some other unnamed council people. Joab is also another complicated character because I really feel like that's David's fault. Because Joab, as much as he was very loyal to David, he was slave driven by David. So, yeah, there were times because they didn't really communicate with each other well, or perhaps they were, I don't know, something. Joab killed a few people when David didn't want him to kill those particular people. One of them was, I think it's the one who killed Absalom. I'm not sure. Yeah, but anyways, all right. So Nathan the prophet and what's this? A priest, Benaiah, and Benaiah is one of the captains, and Bathsheba. They're all like, does David know? Does David know this? Nathan the prophet is still alive at this time, so everyone's like, wake up, wake David up and tell him. And this is where Zadok the priest comes in, because Zadok was one of the priests who was really with David, like he's very loyal to David. He how do I put this? So Zadok is a priest that David assigns to something in the temple. I forgot what. It's in Chronicles. And then the Zadokite were very not just loyal to David, but they really took their assignment seriously, and they were with David the whole time. And they knew that we have to protect the ark. We're going to do this. We're going to glorify God. They took their mandate seriously as Levites. And I don't know which verse this is in the Bible, but the Zadokite priesthood will actually have a very special place in heaven when the New Jerusalem comes down. So they wake David up. Nathan the prophet, Zadok the priest, what's this? Benaiah, Bathsheba. So they all wake David, and David's like, "What do you want?" She's like, what's this? Your son Adonijah is running a coup. So David's like, "Okay, mount Solomon on my mule. Zadok and Nathan, bring him to the Gihon Springs. I think it's the Gihon Springs, and anoint him there as king. Put him on my mule." So mules have a significance. Okay, why is he not riding what's this, a horse? Why not a horse? Why a mule? Why a donkey? Mule, a young donkey. All right, so he is riding a young donkey, a mule, because it means it's peacetime. If Solomon were to ride in Jerusalem in a horse, especially a white horse, it means it's war. And this has a significance in the coming revelation days. So in the coming prophetic revelation days, we don't know when that's coming. And when Jesus comes, remember when Jesus enters Jerusalem just before Passover on his 33rd year, he was riding a mule. He did not ride a horse, and the priest did not want him to come in because that had a significance when Solomon came in there. But in Revelations, Jesus is coming in a white horse. Why? Because he is coming down to war. Fun fact, David ruled in Jerusalem, for 33 years. In total, he ruled 40 years. He was in Hebron before that, and then he switched the capital to Jerusalem, where he ruled 33 years, and Jesus is on the earth 33 years. So, 40 and 33, they have a lot of significance. Even the mule and the horse have a lot of significance, especially because Jesus came from David's line.